She spoke as if reliving a dream. I was on the 78th floor of the South Tower. The fire was right in front of me. The stairwell was filled with smoke and people were screaming, falling. My fiancé was beside me. He pushed me forward. He saved my life. People cried. They stood and applauded. She became the most iconic survivor of 9/11, the face of hope, the voice of the survivors' network. America believed her. But the truth? She wasn't even there that day. At first, she stayed quiet. She refused interviews. She didn't force her story onto others. But at every vigil, she stood with a candle in silence. She hugged survivors, held the hands of grieving parents. People began to see her as safe, gentle, real. She became the unofficial leader of the 9/11 Survivors Network. The media praised her, the public adored her, survivors trusted her. Her tears felt genuine. Her voice shook with grief, and no one questioned it, because she didn't just tell a story. She built a world people wanted to believe in, but that world was built on more than just lies. At last, she stood in front of the cameras. It was a national memorial event in New York. Tanya sat beside the president and read a letter she had written, as a survivor of the 78th floor. Her voice trembled. The audience held their breath. Some wiped their eyes. Her words spread across the country. News anchors praised her grace. Documentaries centered on her story. She had become the face of truth. But no one realized. She didn't represent the truth. She represented something far more dangerous. Everything seemed flawless. Her story, her presence, the trust she inspired. But one journalist noticed a small inconsistency. She claimed to have survived from the 78th floor. There should have been a name, her name, on the survivor list. But it wasn't there. He checked once, then again. Still nothing. At first he thought it was a typo, a mistake. Maybe she'd used a different name. But something didn't sit right. So he kept digging. And from that moment on, the truth began to unravel. Tanya carried that photo like it was her lifeline. A young man in a navy suit, her fiancé, Dave. She told everyone he died in the towers. She lit candles. She cried. They were supposed to be married that fall. She showed the invitations, half-written, spoke about the dress fittings, even said he called her right before the tower collapsed. But when a journalist tried to find his name, nothing. No Dave in the records, no obituary. It was as if this man had never walked this earth. So who was she really grieving? And if Dave never existed? What else was she lying about? She told the world she was a Harvard grad, magna cum laude in economics. She said she worked at Merrill Lynch on the 96th floor of the South Tower. That she held dual citizenship in the US and South Africa. Her story was airtight. Too perfect to question. She even claimed she was on a call with her fiancé, right before he died. Her past sounded tragic. Her accomplishments, admirable. But one by one, the details began to crumble. Reporters reached out to Harvard. No record. Merrill Lynch? No such employee? The passport she showed at interviews? Inconsistent stamps, conflicting birthplaces. This wasn't a case of exaggeration. It was fabrication. If Dave didn't exist, and neither did her credentials, then maybe, just maybe, the woman we thought we knew never existed either. Piece by piece, the facade collapsed. The woman the world embraced never really existed. Her Harvard degree? Fake. Her Merrill Lynch job? Invented. Her dual citizenship? Fabricated. Her fiancé? A tragic ghost she never even knew. What she'd created was not just a lie. It was an identity, a myth. People were stunned. But some began to ask a different question. Why? Why would someone build an entire life on the ashes of a tragedy? Why step into the pain of others, just to be seen? What kind of person could do that? And sleep at night? Investigators, reporters, and survivors all wanted answers. So they began to dig deeper. and what they found was even darker than they imagined. Her name was never Tanya Head. That identity didn't exist until after 9/11. Her real name? Alicia Esteve Head, born and raised in Barcelona, Spain. And her past? Far from heroic. In 1992, Alicia was involved in a financial fraud case at a university in Spain. She had lied before, faked identities, forged documents. To some, it looked like a pattern. Not a survivor's trauma, but a con artist's blueprint. But no one knows exactly when the shift happened. When Alicia became Tanya. What we do know is this. She studied the 9/11 attacks obsessively. The timelines, the survivors, the floor plans, she memorized them all. Until her story was more detailed than the truth. When the truth came out, the world didn't react with rage, but with stunned silence. The media, once eager to praise her, now scrambled to cover the damage. Survivors she once led were left betrayed. But no trial followed, no handcuffs, no public apology. One day, she simply vanished. Her phone disconnected, her apartment abandoned. No one knew where she went. Some said she returned to Spain. Others claimed she was seen in South America. But to this day, there's no confirmed sighting. The woman who had crafted a life out of ashes dissolved into thin air. But her story wasn't quite finished yet. She vanished, quietly, without a trace, and only then did the world learn the truth. The BBC released a documentary, The 9/11 Faker. Survivors cried on camera. "We leaned on her," one said. "We wouldn't have survived without her." But that comfort became a deeper wound. Some never spoke publicly again. Others tremble at the mention of her name. And yet, no one ever truly understood why she lied. It wasn't for money. It wasn't for fame. She simply made us believe. Some say she was mentally ill. Others say she was escaping her own emptiness. But perhaps, not even she knows the answer. And maybe, just maybe, she's watching this now. Not our story, but the one she wrote,